how do you deal with an ultra competitive friend in cycling? If it was just an acquaintance, I would not care, but this is a close friend whose relationship I really value. I use Strava for my outdoor mountain bike rides, and my friend has made several comments where it's clear she's critiquing every second or segment of my rides, i.e., your times are slow on this segment. Your times are only faster here because you got a new bike. Maybe it's how I view it, but it appears to me that she is downgrading my achievements to elevate her own. We live rurally, so QOMs are less competitive here, and she will go for the same QOM segments only if I have achieved one and as soon as possible after I get it. I'm all for friendly competition in a way that promotes progress, and I'm happy for her achievements. However, I feel like a rivalry, even if it's on just on Strava, is not good in a friendship, and I want to bring it up in a sensitive manner. Have any of you dealt with this before? Approach the person about it, and what are your tips? Thanks. So instantly,
maybe some of you have a boss who's overly competitive. Let's just have a little openly sharing session right now about me being a jerk.
I'm going to start taking notes on this one.
I feel like a jerk because I read this and I was like, what did I say last week? The only KOM I want to take is the one that Nate cares about most, is what I said.
Yeah, there's a few KOMs that you target specifically against little old me, who has none in the world. And he takes a national champ with him to do it. And then makes fun of me about it on the podcast, but I'm fine.
Yeah. This is an important question to bring up though, because there's the fun ribbing side of things, like we talked about at the very beginning of this podcast. But then I see this relationship happen quite a lot, perhaps not so overtly, but it happens a lot. And we've all probably done this where you help a friend get into cycling, or there's a new rider and then you're like, yeah, it's great. And then that person just smokes you. And you have to check your ego at the door a lot of the time. And that's really hard to do. Also, this, I think, exists just commonly within the cycling culture, in the sense that there's a lot of rank and file. I feel like that belongs in that exists within these, definitely doesn't belong, but exists within a region of cycling or something else like that. This person's the boss, you are not. As a result, there's a kind of an implied rank, or maybe we have this with our friends too, but I feel like this is actually somewhat common and we probably experience it. Ivy, you actually, you have some points to share on this one, actually, particularly as it relates to Strava.
Yeah, this is why I don't Strava anymore. Well, because it kind of wrecked my training when I got QM hungry, but it also enables people to put weight and worth into something that can very easily be framed as racing, that ultimately is not. So I would advise to make your Strava activities private, moving forward. If you still want to know how you stack up and, see where you are in terms of those KOMs or QMs, you should still use Strava if you want to, but maybe just keep it private in hopes that your friend will start to enjoy your company just as a riding buddy versus, accosting you about your Strava activities. And that way, you can kind of understand more clearly what their intent is in their relationship with you. If it really is about just riding with you or seeing your Strava to see how they stack up, which is a bummer, but possible, then you would know. So this is a less direct, having those conversations is easy to say, and it sounds like you want to gently bring it up with them, but that's easier said than done. And so this may be a less confrontational way to just redirect the energy of your friendship to not be so competitive. Welcome to the Ask a Unlicensed Therapist podcast. We are your hosts. Yeah, having those conversations can be really, really difficult and can often change the tenor of your friendship permanently if that person isn't ready for that conversation. And so this might be a gentle way to just kind of redirect things and move it away from Strava and hope they just enjoy riding with you.
Great tip. Amber, how about you? What advice did you have in this case?
Well, I agree. I think that this is a personal boundary, right? That you have to figure out and set for yourself, and how you do that is really ultimately up to you. And I like Ivy's advice. And I would say, if you do want to have that conversation, one way of approaching it is not with blame, but just to share with your friend how it's impacting you, because she might not understand the impact of what's going on. And this is something I think is probably a pretty global human challenge, is we have intention behind our words, but we can't always control how the words land with someone else and what the impact those words are going to have. So often, and probably more often than not, intention and impact don't always align. And sometimes it can be really helpful as somebody who has good intentions to hear feedback on what the impact actually is. Because if you don't realize that the impact isn't aligning with your intent, you don't have an opportunity to make it right. So, if it were me, and I'm pretty comfortable with uncomfortable conversations, you can ask my colleagues. But I think you can bring it up in a respectful way that's not about blaming, but it's saying, hey, I noticed your comment the other day, and to be honest, this is how I felt when I read it. And that might be a way of opening the conversation, because you're being vulnerable, and you're not blaming and putting responsibility on the other person, but you're saying like this, you're owning your own feelings in a way. So that might be a way of approaching it. But I think that in a bigger picture, and this, moving away from your friend specifically and just looking at in general, I think healthy competition is ultimately a cooperative effort. And it's an effort where everyone's engaging in a learning process towards continual improvement. But not everyone sees it that way. And sometimes people get it twisted, and they use competition as an excuse to treat others poorly, to exclude people, or to put other people down and make themselves feel better by putting other people down. And I'm not saying that your friend is doing any of these things, but other people in general, this definitely can happen. So in some cases, it's because folks don't know better, and they were taught that being competitive meant doing and saying things like this. And they may not have ever been exposed to a healthy way of approaching competition. And they might not know that there's another way of being competitive that's actually really constructive. And then there's some people who are just plain jerks, and they like to get into competitive circles because oftentimes it seems socially acceptable to be mean and be a jerk under the guise of being competitive. But I'd like to just put it out there that that's a bunch of baloney. And being competitive doesn't give you license to be a jerk. It just doesn't. That's not what competition really is. So bringing it back to your individual case, I think, obviously this is a friendship that you value and you don't want to sacrifice. So figuring out the best way of delicately establishing some boundaries with your friend, whether that's through a conversation or like what Ivy said, just making your account private. I think that's ultimately what you need, but you definitely need to protect yourself.
Jonathan, how do you say her name again?
Anais, I would
Anais.
assume. Yep.
Okay. Anais, my opinion is your friend's got some self-confidence problems and is hurting. It's not trying to take you down. She's trying to build herself up. And I've had a few comments on the internet directed towards me that aren't nice. Yeah. Ivy, have you seen any?
As the community manager?
I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
But sometimes people, there's like, we'll talk about it in a second. There's constructive, legit feedback of what I do and how I am, which it's hard to hear, but it helps me grow as a person, and I truly appreciate. Then there are people that say things that are made to make you upset. And those people they're hurting themselves. They're sad. No one who's, like Amber said earlier in the podcast, who's truly happy with themselves, who comes into a room, lovely, goes, wow, says something mean to somebody else right away when they come in.
Yeah.
It is the person, though, that comes in who doesn't feel confident about what they're wearing, and to their friends goes, can you believe what Sam's wearing? Oh my gosh, like look at that. Look how bad that is, right? Because what they're trying to do is make themselves feel better about what they're wearing, and that, hey, I'm not as badly dressed as somebody else. So I would, I wouldn't say it's about you, but it's about them, but it is still annoying and it can still hurt. One thing too for everyone else, because immediately when I read this, I thought, am I this person, right? Am I
totally?
This person
I thought the
it?
same thing. Yeah.
And I think it really depends. I think is how close you are in like ability to somebody else. For instance, Keegan and I have some competitions. the pecking order is very clear, right? Like there's no, and Sue, John and I, Pete and I, like we all know, like John's better at me than anything. And I do try to like get close to John's KOMs, but John, when I get close, he's like, wow, great job. Like he celebrates that, but we know we get in a mountain bike race, John laps me, like for sure. And it's just, I understand that. But maybe if John and I were both, grew up together and we're competing our whole lives and stuff, that it might hurt a little bit. MVP or Matthew Vanderpool and Wout van Aert, they're probably not ribbing each other because that's a real competition, right? And you just did that because of this bike would be seen as probably pretty petty, right? Rather than I don't know what they do, but I bet they congratulate each other and say, hey, good job in world champs, good job at this race. And they don't do this sort of stuff, which is not cool. But they are competitive, obviously. So that's what I think. Whenever someone's mean to you, look at them, because it's really a reflection of them and not a reflection of you.
That's a great way to say it. And I've found that I'm sure all of us found ourselves being this person at some point in our lives. I know I'll just speak for myself. I certainly was that way. I hated it when the success of others seemed like it was surpassing my own success, right? That's really frustrating. Like to a very natural, non-controlled person, that can be very frustrating. And I had to learn over the years to change that perspective. And I genuinely feel, and this is really cool, and I feel fortunate to be able to do this with my work, but we're helping people around the world get faster all the time. And it would be super inconsistent of me to be upset about anybody's success if I'm focusing on doing that around the world, right? But luckily that's something that I've learned to do, and I find absolute pure joy in it. Like when other people succeed, even to the point that it was like when Nate dropped me on our gravel ride we did earlier this year, he just blew my doors off on a climb. I was like strangely happy the whole time. It was just cool because Nate and I have talked so many times about, like, Nate's kind of like ribbing each other and joking that, Nate was going to drop me someday or something like that.
We never joked about that.
We have, because Chad made the point of saying that you will never beat me. And do you remember that when he said that to you? I'm sure you do.
I remember that. We need to find an episode and cut it out, because I'm going to play it. Like, I'm going to have it on my wall where it's like a thing that just plays. Whenever I need motivation on the trainer, I'm going to slap a button.
You will never beat me. Yeah.
And I only beat him now.
Yeah.
So anyone was wondering.
Yeah. But it's been like a good example for me to like never say never with that sort of stuff. And then also it is fun when other people have that sort of success. So first of all, like all of us can probably internalize this whole experience and be a better friend and helper to other people, whether that's in work or in cycling or in family, anything else. When other people succeed, it truly does make the world a better place. And that's really cool. And it can make our small world better. However, I think it is important to, if you care about this friendship, to be able to have the discussion. Now, Ivy, you mentioned that, turning Strava off, and that like was a point that I hadn't considered, and it could be really helpful because it could kind of like disarm the entire situation. So then you can have a more friendly conversation or just a natural conversation, and it would just be less intimidating. But Nate, this is like one of our core values here at TrainerRoad. It's called Radical Candor. There's a great book on it as well. And I've recommended this book ever since I've read it the first time. And I continually reread this book because it's a great systems check for me. But it's a wonderful book, and I recommend that people read it. But can you explain Radical Candor, and then maybe we can apply to how it could be used here?
And
yes,
please, Aaron, put the graphic up. And then Jonathan, I was on a gravel bike. You were on a mountain bike when I dropped you, so it doesn't like really count. It's
still, it was just cool. So I felt happy. So
he had like 4 liters of water on him, and I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about Radical Candor, which is, I give this as a talk to all new hires. Let me pin this video so I can see it. This is extremely important. What this does is this guides us in our interactions at TrainerRoad, part of the core values. And I would say this is a practice rather than a destination. And I'm going to describe this for people on the who are just listening, can't see this. There are 2 axes. The y-axis, the one that goes up and down. At the top, it's care personally. At the bottom, it's when you don't care about somebody. And then the x-axis, left and right, When the right is when you can challenge someone directly, and the far left is where you cannot challenge someone. And if you put these in the 4 quadrants, what you get are 4 different states of interactions, and I'm going to go through them, and you probably have all experienced them. So where you want to live is this upper right-hand corner where you care personally and you can challenge someone directly. That is called radical candor. We're going to cover that last. In the upper left-hand corner where you care personally, but you're not willing to challenge them directly, this happens a ton with friends. Let's say Jonathan goes, hey, do I look good in this kit? And Jonathan does not look good. It is slightly see-through because he washed it too much, and glasses are on crooked, and his helmet strap isn't right, and his glasses are on wrong. And you say to your friend, oh, you look great. Because what you don't want to do, you don't want to hurt their feelings or challenge them directly. And Jonathan goes out in the world, and everyone can see through his, Lycra that's dissolved. That is not being a good friend, right? You don't want that.
To Jonathan or anyone around him.
Yeah, exactly. This is another one is your friend has bad breath. Do you tell them? Mm-hmm. I have a fear of this. I would love it if you tell me. Because it's hard to tell, right? If you have bad breath. If you're a friend, do you tell your friend you have bad breath? It
Having
hurts.
your fly down when you notice that your friend has their fly down, right? What do? You don't want to tell them, but you tell them if you're a good friend,
yep.
Right?
So then we go in the lower left-hand corner. It's where you don't care and you don't challenge them. And these are people who backstab you. These are people who will say one thing to your face and then say another thing behind it. This is an instant fire at TrainerRoad. You're in the room as empathy above where, it's hard to challenge people directly. That's something you can learn and train for. But if you are this manipulative insincerity, I can tell if you're sucking up to me and then saying other things about other people and all that sort of stuff, there's really no coming back. And luckily, I can't think of a single employee in my history who we've had this. Where maybe at a different company, it's a high stakes thing. And this is built into some companies' cultures, right? Mm-hmm. It's like survival of the fittest. Let's attack. It's, in order for me to do great, you have to do poorly. I have to talk down and take credit for something. And if I have a mistake, I'm going to blame it on somebody else. You do not want that. Okay. So that's the one you don't want friends these aren't friends. Get rid of these people. Yeah. The next case is, and you don't want bosses like this either. The next one is you don't care personally, but you challenge directly. And this is called obnoxious aggression. This is the classic engineer role where although they will say things to you, they say it in such a mean way that they're just a jerk. And they might bring up a fault of yours in front of everybody and be mean about it. Or they could say, you wouldn't understand this because you're stupid. That is, they're willing to challenge you and they are a jerk at the same time. This is something I try to weed out in culture. You can have talks with people and try to improve this so they care personally. But also this is if this happens long-term, this kills your company culture. No one wants to work with these people. Your best people will leave and you'll end up with more jerks. So go ahead and try to help these people because they may not be aware. Okay, the last one is you care personally and you challenge directly. This is radical candor. And I'm going to use the bad breath analogy of rudest empathy is I don't care about it. Ruinous empathy is you have bad breath. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to say your breath is great. Manipulative insincerity is I'm not going to say anything to you, but I'm going to tell everybody else, hey, Nate has bad breath. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh, it's horrible being around him. I can't stand it. And then to me, they might say, oh yeah, it's nothing. And then talk behind my back and kind of spread the rumor. Obnoxious aggression is in a meeting, someone says, Nate, your breath smells like poo-poo. Right in the meeting in front of everybody. I would be like, oh my goodness. Radical candor could be afterwards, they say, hey, Nate, I've worked or in a chat message. I noticed your breath wasn't the best today. I've experienced this same problem. These things have helped me. I thought you'd like to know. You care for them and you actually you challenge them at the same time. And that is amazing. And when you deal with people, how far you go up and down that care personally, this really, it depends on the person. There are people here, and probably everyone on the podcast knows, you can be pretty close. You don't have to do so much caring. Some people just like to hear straight facts and you don't have to do anything. And then other people, you're a little more gentle with them, right? And they do require more care. And another key part of this radical candor and this is, if you want people to give you radical candor, which helps you grow, on the other side, you have to not react when you hear things other than saying, thank you for that. Like, I appreciate that. And even if you think they are dead wrong, hear it. And a common thing that you don't want to do is, okay, well, name 2 times I've done that, right? Someone ever critique you? Like, well, name a time. And if you think that you're not doing it, what you can say is, instead of name a time, say, thank you for telling me that. I'm not always aware. Next time I do it, can you stop me in the middle of it and just let me know? Because it's hard for me to understand and hear this. And it's so hard for all of us to be self-aware. So that is this. And having that radical candor conversation with your friend in this situation might look something like, hey, I value our friendship, but the comments and the comments of where it might not be me, it might be my bike. It makes me feel like a lesser rider, that you're not really valuing me. And I don't really like the competition anyway. So I'm going to put myself on Strava, but I still, or not put myself on Strava, but I still want to work together. And I really care for our friendship, but I just don't want it to be competitive. How does that sound to you? And then I'm pretty sure she'll take that well. And if she says, well, you suck anyways, like maybe not a friend that you want.
Yeah. Oftentimes I've found that people that don't dwell in the upper right quadrant of radical candor, if you meet them with radical candor, then they easily translate up to that upper right quadrant. And a lot of the time, the reason that a person falls into the obnoxious aggression side, which is kind of like what your friend is exhibiting in some respects here, it's because they're having trouble caring personally for themselves, like what we talked about here. So it's really hard to then care for everybody else if you don't care about yourself. So it can be really tough. So understanding and trying to get to understanding, this is just a really good kind of cheat sheet to be able to do that. Thanks for explaining it, Nate. And hopefully, Anais, this helps you with this, and anybody else that's listening to this that has any sort of situation. This has transcended how to make you a faster cyclist, perhaps in many ways here, which is really cool.
Licensed Therapist podcast. I like that.
Exactly, that's it. But at the same time, I think all of us have this relationship on bikes at some point.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.
If you think I have better hair than Jonathan, give it a thumbs up. If not, leave a comment.
My hair is better than his.